Hi guys, and welcome. If you're gripped by the period of time in which we're in during this magnetic reversal and appreciate it for what it is, one of the rarest, most unusual anomalies in humanity, yet has failed to capture, mainstream media's attention on a more regular basis than what it has, then I think this video alone you're going to find very rewarding. What's happened is, and the reason why this is an alert update, is because we've stumbled on some information today which is very rare. And the reason why I say it's very rare is because usually you only get this information when somebody visits the actual North Pole, and it's came from an unlikely source. You wouldn't believe it, guys. But we'll get to that later in the video. So what we're looking at is that green dot on the map. The map is provided by the National Centres for the Environmental Information, and of course, if you know who NOAA are, you'll know that they're the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Organisation. So they're providing the map and all the relevant information on the map. So if you look at the scale at the bottom, you can see the time period, which is going to become relevant in a minute, and you can also see the longitude and latitude position to where that is. If I try and get it into the center there, you can see at that left hand screen on the position that it's 86 degrees north by 159 degrees west. That is important, guys, because that is where NOAA is stating that in 2015, if you look at the date at the bottom of that chart, where the North Pole is right now. Now, I can pull up the historical tracks which just rebut what I've been talking about in previous videos. Let's do that right now. Let's get up the historical previous tracking of the magnetic North Pole. As you can see, for quite some period of time now, since the 1900s, it's been tracking almost on a perfect vector easterly towards Siberia. But what you'll notice is that if we're at 2015, why have NOAA included the next few dots? And not only that, why did NOAA include the dots but also show the magnetic North Pole slowing down, when we know that is not the nature of the magnetic North Pole at the moment? It has been increasing in speed exponentially, and so those dots should be getting further and further away. Now, I've got the GPS coordinates of each pin that you see there, and I've plotted them into Google Earth, and I've showed you many times. But what I want to show you something in this video is something very bizarre and unexpected, and came about unexpectedly, really, today, this morning, and I could not believe my luck, because not only has somebody actually gone onto the North Pole, but they went almost to the exact, well, as good as you could get, because anyone that tries to track the North Pole and position it perfectly 90 degrees should know it's not an easy job. So even plotting these coordinates onto Google Earth is very finicky, because as soon as you go over 90 degrees, then the heading changes. In other words, if you're looking at the compass, it goes up straight away upside down, and so it doesn't matter whether you go diagonal one way or the other, or left, right, up and down. It's very difficult when you're trying to get a highly accurate position for the North Pole. So, what's my beef then? What's so important about this video? Well, it turns out from the position that these people have tracked it to, it's off course from the line that you're seeing. And first of all, what I want to show you, right, is that NOAA have been forecasting only where the magnetic North Pole is, and not actually taking measurements, and that's going to become apparent very later on in this video. Now, you would think an organisation funded by taxpayers, so you know how they treat taxpayers' money with very little consideration and care, you would think that they would actually not provide a forecast, but actually if somebody else can go out to the North Pole in the manner in which the results have come to me, then why couldn't they have done that? Why haven't they updated the historical magnetic poles, as I'm about to later on in this video? So they're forecasting. The reason why I know they're forecasting, because I can just go up the dates. If you just pay attention to the 2015, you'll see that as I go up the dates, once it uploads, the new position of the North Pole comes in. Now, how can they have 2016's position if they're not forecasting? How can they have 2017, 2018, 2019, up to 2020? It's simply because they're forecasting. Now, how can they forecast that it's first of all going to slow down? And here's the big thing, right? According to the latest information that I've been able to obtain, and that was from somebody that actually has gone out to the ice last year in June 2014, it's no longer tracking in an easterly vector. And the reason why I think that is because the magnetosphere is actually weakening now, and that pole can be wandering pretty much anywhere. And it'll be interesting now, because this does really throw a spanner into the works, because we was hoping that just one magnetometer would be enough to keep a track on this, because we sort of like knew in which direction it was tracking easterly. So one magnetometer on a heading would have told us that. But no, we did anticipate setting up another magnetometer in Virginia, which was around 4,500 miles away. I'm 4,500 miles away from the actual magnetic pole, so we'd get like two lines intercrossing, and where they intercross would give us a good position of where the magnetic pole was. That's still going to be the case, and that's we're in progress of that right now. I'm just waiting for the voltage boost regulator to come in, so that I can complete the the magnetometer that I'm building right now to do that. So once we get the first one built, then it's a matter of knocking up the second one, getting that shipped over to the United States. And we're going to need it now, because I'm going to show you in the next part of this video that the pole is tracking south, and not by a small amount either, guys. I think you're going to be shocked, and I think the reason why that is, as I say, is because the magnetosphere is weakening now to a point where things are starting to become unpredictable. Now, it's important that I mention this, that those white boxes now that I've just included, right, are observed pole locations, which means people have actually gone out there and observed from that position. Now, I believe that I know that one person that used to do it was Larry Newt from the Canadian Geological Survey, and he was no longer able to do that because the migrating pole was going that far that his twin-engine Otter aircraft that he used to land on the ice with, as it's run out of range. Basically, it can no longer fly there and back, even with I suppose extra cans of fuel to get him out there. So it became unviable for people to get out there on the ice. But as you can see, those little yellow square boxes that I've put up there are the last known locations of where people actually have. We're going to put another one on there, and we're going to put one on from 2014, in the middle of the year, from June 2014. Now, in the where I don't know the technical term. I do know the technical term, but I can't think of it at the moment. But we're going to have a look at the captain's GPS as he gets closer to the North Pole. I'm going to show you the readings for that from the bridge. That's the word I was looking for. So we're going to see not just the 90 degrees north of the new position, we're also going to see that it's date time stamped, and that's massively important to getting and obtaining accurate information. So we can say that we have a legitimate positioning of the North Pole where somebody has actually observed it from that location. And the last time this happened was in 2004. So, without further ado, guys, let's get into how I obtained this information. First of all, it was a YouTube video, and it was a Russian nuclear icebreaker ship that now, believe it or not, guys, if you want to, you can book, or reserve a place on this boat and go to the North Pole yourself. So, having found now this icebreaker ship that goes out to the North Pole regularly with passengers on board that want to go to the top of the Earth, or 90 degrees, we're just going to tag onto the channel and follow it year after year, and we're going to get not just forecasted positioning, but we're going to get at least ground observations of where the magnetic North Pole is. Now I'm going to show you first of all in the next video the ship that goes out there, and then secondly I'm going to show you where I've plotted these positions on Google Earth so that we can see the variation in which it's deviated from that present course that it's been following at least up till 2007, or maybe shortly after that. Let's get on with that so that we can do this thing, guys. So here we are, guys. This is the Victory. It's a unique Russian vessel. It's been in service, I believe, 50 years, and it's a nuclear powered icebreaker, and we're looking at the GPS on board the ship. As you can see, 90 degrees north and 17 degrees east, and the date at which it was making this voyage was on the 25th of June 2014. Even there, 1 minute past 6. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable where you find this information, and NOAA must have been aware, surely, that somebody had been going over the North Pole, and if not, it's a shame that they've not updated their data. Even recently, I'd been speaking to someone at the British Geological Survey, and they told me the last time that somebody had been actually there to make a recorded position on the ice was around 2007. So even it just seems that us in the West have been totally oblivious to this now passenger ship. You can literally I'll put a link down there so that you can see the link in which you can go onto and book a trip to the North Pole, the exact North Pole. It's just unbelievable, isn't it? It's an unbelievable source of information, but it's just by luck that it's came. I mean, you'd never think that a passenger ship would be going over the North Pole. But anyhow, let's have a look at the ship that actually does do it, and you'll see them here. If I'll just press play. So you can rent this helicopter as well. By the way, I'm not trying to sell tickets to this. I mean, if I could afford to, I can imagine this isn't going to be a cheap trip. But I would definitely be one that would be interested in going on that for just the purpose of finding out where the magnetic North Pole was every year, so we can keep a log on it, because we know how important it is. So this ship goes out there. It's been out there a few times now that I've managed to watch where it's gone out to the North Pole. The captain tries to get it on the spot of where the magnetic North Pole is, or 90 degrees, as you've seen on his GPS. And I don't know how long they've been doing that. I suppose this vessel had a commercial purpose at some point. Breaking the ice for other ships to come follow through, but it's just great that we've been able to obtain the information, because now we've got a location for the magnetic North Pole, and it's not forecasted for at least 2014. So let's put this into perspective then for you guys that are interested in where the magnetic North Pole is, because if you've been following the videos, you know how important this is. Right, where that P is, right, is the coordinates that the Victor found the North Pole to be at. And as you can see, I've put the date in, the 25th of 6th, 2014. Right, two things stand out to me here. First of all, it's no longer tracking in a nice vector easterly towards Siberia anymore. It's somehow deviated more further south, and it's done that by, if I can just bring in the measuring tool, I'll show you exactly what we're getting here. So if we just measure from the the vector that it was tracking in, if we put that somewhere in between these yellow pins that were provided by the GPS coordinates of NOAA, we'll see that it's not a small deviation. As you can see, it's 288 miles deviated off course further south. And the second thing is, if we clear that and measure it from the last time someone actually went to the ice, let's just clear it, okay, which was 2007, to the new position, we can see that it's done around 417 miles in 7 years. So 417 divided by 7 equals 59.57 miles a year, and that's 20 miles an hour, or sorry, 20 miles a year faster than what NOAA and the British Geological Survey have put the North Pole migrating at. And that's a lot, guys. So it gives us an idea as to how to forecast from that point on further. So we could add from that position now in 2015, if things haven't deteriorated anymore with the position of the North Pole, at least another 60 miles onto that. And you can see that from that position it leaves us around 500 miles or less, actually. Let's see if I can get a better one than that. Around, as soon as the magnetometer station's up and running in the UK, we'll have a vector as to where the North Pole is with regards to 90 degrees, and as soon as we get the one up in Virginia up and running, we can have some way of crisscrossing those two headings, and it will almost give us a perfect triangulation of where the magnetic North Pole is, to within a small degree of accuracy. It's going to be very accurate. I have said that the magnetometers that we're using, even though they are good magnetometers, they can have an uncertainty to 1 degree, and we're using 3 in each station. So there'll be 3 in the UK, 3 in Virginia, and we're also going to be tracking the one in New Zealand as well. The South Pole, that'll be. So guys, that's where we are. This is important stuff. When you consider what is taking place now, you guys know that I predicted that this magnetic pole wasn't there in the region of the Arctic region for no reason. We wouldn't have polar jet streams, I believe, if it weren't for where the magnetic pole resides right now, somewhere over the Arctic region, but it's tracking south and easterly right now, or southeasterly, and that means I expect to see the polar jet streams, if there's a strong pole, be in formation, but as we know, they're weakening now. I've got something to show you here, guys, and I think you're going to be quite alarmed at what I've got to show you. So I'll just draw up the other map, so at least you know where it is, guys. If you check the GPS coordinates down here at the bottom of the screen before I leave this place, you'll see that it's, like I said, 89.5 is actually where the pin is, and you can just see how much things move on the westerly and easterly coordinates. But trust me, I got it down as best as I could in that vicinity to 17 degrees east and 89.5 degrees north, which is virtually there. If you don't trust me, go onto Google Earth and see how hard it is to put the pin on 90 degrees and 17 degrees east, and you'll see for yourselves it's in that vicinity of where I've marked the P. So let's go and have a look at the other map then, the other chart, because I've got something important to show you as well with that, and that's with regards to the weakening of the magnetosphere and the effects it's having on the polar jet streams right now. So here we are on the global weather modelling system, and most of it is real time. What I want to show you is jet streams and what's happening. So what you're looking at is your subtropical and polar jet streams, and as you can see, guys, they're indistinguishable. You can't tell them apart from each other, and you know, that to me is highly shocking. We've got hot and cool air mixing sporadically across the globe right now, and I think it's to do with the weakening magnetosphere. I was on a website the other day where scientists were, you know, not screaming about it, but they're saying that in the last 6 months, you know, the magnetosphere had noticeably dropped again. It's very difficult to get information from these organisations. I mean, we wouldn't have had it not been for that, you know, Russian passenger boat now, which is a nuclear icebreaker going over the North Pole. We wouldn't have got the data of where the North Pole is accurately as what they did on the spot if they hadn't have gone across the North Pole themselves in 2014. If we look at the SS TA, sea surface temperature anomaly, or, you know, as you may know it to be the El Nino, I want to point out a couple of areas first. We're going to go back on the wind chart and have a look what's happening over this region here, but it is a region which is increasing in sea surface temperature. And also a look at this, because these are both going to be affected by the intermingling of the polar and tropical jet streams, you know, that warm and cold air mixing. And you can see from for yourselves, guys, this is intensifying. If this information is being put out there correctly from NOAA, then you can see yourselves it's intensifying, and we are looking, as other scientists have already stated, to a severe El Nino. And when comparing the worst one we've ever recorded in '97, it looks like it's going to be worse than that, because that was recorded in November time, and we're not in November yet, we're rapidly approaching it. So, you know, I'm just giving you a heads up. This is going to get worse, guys, and I think we all need to pay attention to it. We've got now a southerly deviating magnetic pole at this moment in time. Just look at the yellow regions. These are hotter, by the way, than the red regions. Don't ask me why they did it on that scale. I mean, it just seems more logic to put it in red than it is in yellow, but they did it that way anyway. If you look at the scale, you'll see, you know, yellow's hotter than red, so, you know. If we just go back to the air and wind at surface, and then go back, we're going to start seeing more of these cyclic movements in these regions of where, you know, the sea surface temperature is recorded as being hotter. So just pay attention to these cyclic events in the future. And the region in this place here is where I was telling you another cyclical event could fall into, you know, producing a hurricane at some point if it hasn't already. So you know, guys, you know, if they're talking about climate chaos, well, you know, you've seen it firsthand, and I can't think why people would not want to pass on the information as to where the magnetic North Pole is, but perhaps they might be thinking, well, you know, there might be a few people out there that put two and two together, like I have, and understand, you know, what implications this could have. Bear this in mind, guys. You know, I'm going to end the video here, but bear this in mind. This hasn't happened. for 780,000 years. So, just bear that in mind. No human historical records of the last time we went through a full magnetic reversal. And you've seen the videos in which I've done on Mars. And what you've got to bear in mind is, on average, this used to go through a reversal every 250,000 years. And it's been 780,000 years since the last one. So something happened there. I'll just put it out there. I'll just what I think. Why not? Is this the end? Is this the last magnetic reversal this Earth goes through? And even if it's not, and scientists cannot deny this, it's showing signs that during this magnetic reversal, when the magnetosphere does collapse, that it will definitely take longer for it to come back up if the magnetic poles do reconfigure at some other point on this planet. Now, when they do, you can expect the Arctic regions to be over those new positions. And not only that, I've said also in a video before, many times in other videos, that the rotational axis is not on the same position as where the Arctic region is and the magnetic North Pole. They're not. They are definitely connected through some planetary mechanics that, I'm trying to work out what's going on myself. But, I don't think that they're all there by coincidence, guys. We could be in for some real unprecedented events during this time. And, as a scientist, I've been slated for saying this, but for me, this is an exciting time. There's lots of stuff to study, but at the same time, I can understand the anxiousness of some people watching these videos thinking, this is really for one happening, and it's really serious. And I just hope that, you guys that feel that anxiety, take on board the fact that, you really do need to start putting up some provisions for yourself just in case the worst happens. That can come in many forms. Nature has got an unprecedented power. It can throw tidal waves, it can cause earthquakes, it can cause you to be irradiated by inbound solar radiation without the protection of the magnetosphere. So all these things is something you need to think about, guys. We may be only just now coming to the grips of the full reality of what we are facing, but if now we understand, it gives us time to prepare. And there's nothing wrong with that insurance policy of having a bug out bag or a bit of extra food or some provisions put up for you and your family. At the end of the day, if you're thinking your governments are coming to your rescue, then look no further than what happened in Katrina during those floods. And need I say any more? That will set precedents for how governments will react during times of national emergency with regard to these incidences caused by these new anomalies. Guys, there's a link down there. I mean, some people won't appreciate the length of time that it takes to put this in even the order in which I do, and I've got to admit it's not probably the most concise manner, and some of these videos do go along for a bit of time. But nevertheless, the information that's collected takes time. We don't just talk about things anymore on this channel. We're actually building scientific equipment to monitor these things, and we're doing that in the hope that we might be able to give you guys out there a little bit of a heads up. So, it's important. It affects you. If you can afford to make a donation, the link's there, guys. And, I'm just sorry that I have to keep mentioning it. It's a real shame that there's only a few that support this channel financially the way they do, and most of these people make more than one contribution. So I can only say kudos to those guys. They can pat themselves on the back. You're doing it not just for yourselves, but for others as well. And I know that as well. That's why I do put the time in and feel that this is worthwhile. I really do hope you appreciate the fact of why I put an alert on this video, guys, I think it was warranted. It took an unprecedented detour, to say the least. It's no longer tracking in the vector of just easterly. We're now getting a southeasterly moving magnetic north pole, and that's very important. So with that, guys, I'm going to say what I usually do. You take care. Try not to worry, but prepare a little bit at least. And, don't forget to contribute. You're not just helping keeping the information